P 9.2. In recent years, Freeman Transportation purchased 3 used buses. Because of frequent turnover in the accounting department, a different accountant selected the depreciation method for each bus, and various methods were selected. Information concerning the buses is summarized below. For the declining balance method, the company uses the double declining rate. For the units of activity method, total miles are expected to be 120,000. Actual miles of the use in the first 3 years were in 2019 24,000, and then 36,000, and then 31,000. Instructions. Compute the amount of accumulated depreciation on each bus at December 31st of 2020. Okay, so we have 3 different buses. Let's do it one by one. The first one uses straight line. So this one is very easy, right? We're just going to have the cost minus the residual value divided by the useful life in years. And this amount is actually not going to change toward the years because it is straight line. Which means that per year, bus 1 depreciates 18,000 pounds, and this is per full year. This number does not change, so in 2018, 19, 20 would still be 18,000. And here we want to calculate it at December 31st of 2020. So we bought the bus on January 1st of 2018. So January 1st of 2019, 1 year, 2020, 2 years. But again, this is January 1st. We want to see it at December 31st. So 1 more year has passed. This is why we actually have to multiply this number by 3 to get a total of 54,000 pounds. And this is the depreciation of your first bus. Your second bus uses the declining balance. Over here, there is a catch in this exercise. Normally, we study that the declining balance, you just have to double the straight line balance rate, right? That is correct, but if we're talking about the same bus, over here we have 2 different buses. So maybe this bus over here, bus 2, maybe the previous, for example, if we use like a straight line rate before, it would be different than the one that is using right now. And what I mean by that is that we actually have to use this number over here. So we have to assume that the previous straight line rate for bus number 2 was 4. So this is why we have to divide 1 by 4, and we would get 0.25. And then indeed we have to double this rate in order to get the double declining balance. So it would be 25 times 2, and that gives us 0.50. The reason for that is because we're talking about different buses. If you did 1 divided by 5, because here you see straight line, that is actually wrong because the buses there are different. So just be careful. This is exercise a little bit tricky. Okay, now since we're dealing with a double declining balance, I like to make a table because there's a lot of information that you have to write, and it's very easy to get lost. Of course, if you know how to do it without making a table, then feel free to do it, go ahead. But I like to make it a table. So over here, I'm putting all of the columns that I'm gonna need. Okay. Okay. So over here, just to make sure that we are all on the same page, the year, right, beginning balance, the rate, which is the double declining rate, the depreciation expense, the accumulated depreciation, and the ending book value, okay? All right. And I'm actually going to copy this table because I think we have to make another table in the future as well. Okay, good. So the years that we have is 2018, 2019. Until which year did they ask? Until December 31st of 2020, right? So we can do it until 2000. Actually, I'm going to do it until 2021 because I want to see how the last year looks like, because the last year we computed a little bit different. So the beginning balance is always going to be the cost that you paid in order to acquire this asset. Here we paid 140,000. So this is going to be my beginning balance. The rate is not going to change, so I'm just going to go ahead and put 0.5 for all of the years. For depreciation expense, we just have to multiply that by the rate, and we get 70,000. The accumulated depreciation, until now we just have one, so you can just repeat the number. The ending balance is going to be the beginning balance minus the depreciation expense of that year, because we want to know the ending book value of 2018. So this is going to be 140,000 minus 7. This is going to be 70, okay? The ending book value of 2018 is going to be the beginning book value of 2019, right? Multiplying that by 50%, that is going to be 35,000. For the accumulated depreciation, you have to add this number and this number. That gives us 105,000. And once again, the ending book value is the beginning minus the depreciation expense of that particular year. That gives us 35,000. And the beginning balance is the same. This plus this. $122,500, and then this minus this. Yeah, so like I said, they just required us to do until December 31st of 2020, so they actually want to know, they don't want to know all of these numbers, but something that you have to pay attention to is that if you go ahead and multiply this by this and keep going forward, this number might not be what they want. Why is that? Because if you take a look at bus number 2, it is supposed to have a residual value of 10,000, which means that the ending book value has necessarily to be 10,000. But if you make these calculations, for example, 17,500 times 5, in theory that would give us 8,750, and then if you add this and this would give us, in theory, 131,250. Yeah, but if you do the beginning balance minus this depreciation expense, so it would be 17,500 minus 8,750. You actually get 8,750. You do not get 10,000, and it needs to be 10,000. So this is why the last column is always different. In the last column, what you're going to do is you're going to see the beginning balance is 140, and I have to end up with 10,000, which means that here I have to have 130,000 of accumulated depreciation, correct? Because in the beginning I had 140 minus this, I would end up with this. So this number over here has to equal plus this number over here has to equal 130, because this is how we calculate accumulated depreciation. Remember, accumulated depreciation, it is always either all of these together or this plus this. So we know by a fact that 122,500 plus whatever number it's going to be plus x has to equal 130,000. So this x, we can just subtract it. That'll give us 7,500. So this depreciation over here would have to be 7,500. But I just did this because I wanted to show you how you do the last row. But actually what they asked us was to do bus number 2, right? Each bus on December 31st of 2020. So 2020, the accumulated depreciation would be 122,500. So this accumulated depreciation would be this. This is what they're asking. Okay, then let's take a look at bus number 3. Bus number 3 uses the units of activity method, so this is easier than a declining balance. So it's just going to be the cost minus the residual value divided by the total number of units that could be used, in this case are miles, times whatever amount that they used in 19 and 20. So we're going to have 92,000 minus 8 divided by 120. And this number that we get here is going to be multiplied by whatever amount was used in 2019 and 2020, because they're asking until December 31st of 2020. So over here we have 0.7, and then for 2019, how much did they use? 24,000 and 36,000. So I'm going to multiply it by 24,000 and by 36,000. We get 16,800, and we get 25,200. So my accumulated depreciation is going to be the sum of both of these. And I have 42,000. And this is letter A. What about letter B? If bus 2, the one that uses declining balance, was purchased on April 1st instead of January 1st, what is the depreciation expense for this bus in 2018 and 2019? Okay, well, again, you don't have to make a table like I will, but I recommend you to, because it will look more organized. They just want to know for the year 2018 and 2019, right? The beginning balance is going to be, again, the cost. The cost was 140,000. Since we're dealing with declining balance, we're going to be using the same rate, right? The one that we calculated, which is going to be 0.5, sorry. So for both years. Okay? So they want to know for 2018 and 2019. If both of these years were full years, then okay. But for the year 2018, it says that what if it was purchased on April 1st of 2018 and then 2019. So 2019, it is a full year, but 2018, it is a partial year depreciation. So in theory, over here, we would just multiply this by this, right? But in reality, we're going to have to take into consideration that this was bought on April. So in theory, it would be 140,000 times 5, which would give us 7,000, but it was bought on April 1st. Now let's count it together. April 1st, right? April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 8 months, right? Wrong. Why is that? Because it is April 1st, so we count until December 1st. Until December 1st, that is 8 months indeed. But it wants us to do it until December 31st, so you have to add 1 more month, so it would be 9. So you're timing it 9 divided by 12. That is 52,500. Okay, accumulated depreciation, we don't have anything up to this point. And the ending book value, beginning minus the depreciation expense of that particular year. 87,500, which equals the beginning book value. And this year is a full year depreciation, so no problem, you can just multiply it by the rate. And then this plus this to know this. $96,200 and let me do this one more time. Over here I wrote it wrong, right? This is supposed to be 500. Okay, all right, so one more time. Yes, okay. That is 96,250. Yeah. And then the beginning minus the depreciation expense, how much is that? Yeah. That is 43,750. So let's take a look again at what else it asks us. It asks the depreciation, not the accumulated, just the depreciation expense for 2018 and 2019. So for 2018, the depreciation would be 52,500. And for 2019, the depreciation would be 43,750.